Hello and welcome to Relatable Code. In this video, we are going to talk about arithmetic operators in Kotlin. These are the operators that we will use to perform some common mathematical operations in Kotlin, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We have some other mathematical operations as well, but these are the ones that we will cover in this video at least, and they are very essential to know. So let's get started. Before we start, I want you to note something. When creating a variable in Kotlin, you have the option to specify the type of this variable. So for example, in this var borrowed book, you can specify that this is a string, like this. You write a column and you write string. Okay, we're going to need this in future, but there's no need to do this now, because if I hover over it, they will say explicitly given type is redundant here, because Kotlin is a very powerful language and it's smart enough to infer or deduce the type of the variable just from its value in this case. Okay, I want you to note that. And you might notice that I have these comments here in my code now. Comments are like notes you can add around your code, so that you can get a better idea of what's going on, and you're going to need them. So I used comments in this case just to divide this file we're working on into several sections. Okay, so we're at the arithmetic operators section. I think that this is more clear for you when you want to watch this video. So let's start with the first arithmetic operator, the plus or the addition. What can we do with the addition in this case? Check out this variable, total number of books borrowed. Okay, let's say that this customer we're trying to work with has borrowed a new book, and we want this to reflect in the variable total number of books borrowed so that we can keep track of it. So how do we do that? As we've seen in the previous video, we can change the value of a variable like this. We get the name of the variable, we write the equal sign to assign a new value for this variable, and we give it the new value like that on the right side of the equal sign. We're going to do something very similar here. So we're going to get the value that we want to edit. In this case, it's total number of books borrowed, and we want to give it a new value. But what's the value in this case? We're just going to increment it by 1. So we need to get its current value, and we're going to add 1 to it. How do we do that? On the right side of the equal sign, you write again total number of books borrowed plus 1. Now you might think this is counterintuitive, like what the hell are you doing? You're writing a variable on both sides of the equal sign, and on the right side you have plus 1. Well, that's how you assign a new value to it in Kotlin. So this is your variable. You're trying to assign a new value to it, so you write it on the left side of the equal sign. You write the equal sign to assign a new value, and on the right side of the equal sign you need to get its current value. This is how you do it. You use the same name to get its current value, and then you add 1 to it. You can notice that we have a green underline beneath it. So Kotlin is suggesting that we do something here, and we replace this typing, if you want, with this. So if you write total number of books borrowed plus equals 1, it's the same as if you're writing total number of books borrowed equal total number of books borrowed plus 1. Okay, what you use is a matter of preference, but I guess Kotlin here is suggesting that we use this approach. Okay, that produces the same result, and that's it for the total number of books borrowed. That's how you perform an addition operation in Kotlin. Now let's take an example for the multiplication operator. So let's suppose that we have a new variable, and this variable tracks the amount of days that the customer has this overdue book. Okay, so we create a new variable and we call it number of days with overdue book. And that's basically the number of days that has elapsed since the customer has been late to return this new book. Okay, so let's suppose that this is equal to 2. So for example, the customer had like 3 days to return the book after borrowing it, and he has been keeping that book for 5 days. In this example, the number of days that the customer has been left with the book overdue is equal to 2. Let's see why we did this. We already discussed that we have a fees variable. So now we're going to do this. We're going to write fees equal fees times number of days with overdue book. Okay, so that basically works the same as total number of days as we previously wrote. We're getting the value of fees and we're assigning a new value to it. It's equal to the current value of fees. In our case it's 4.5, and it's multiplied by the number of days with overdue book, in our case 2. Okay, so as before, Kotlin is suggesting we replace it with times equals in this case. Okay, let's actually try to print out our result so I can show you what's happening. And that's pretty easy to do on Kotlin. So before incrementing the total number of books borrowed, let's do this. We write a function called print line. I'll show you what it does now. And in this function, we're going to write total number of books borrowed. Okay, so that's going to print the value of this variable into our output window. And we're going to print it as well after incrementing this value. So we're going to do that. Now we run our Kotlin function. This shouldn't take too long, I guess. You need to open your output window. This is the build output window. And that's it. You can see before incrementing this value, we printed it out to the console, or to the output window in this case. Its value was 5, which is the initial value for this variable. And after incrementing it by 1, we printed this value again and it was incremented to become 6. Okay, that's how you use the print line function in Kotlin. And it's basically just a function that prints this value into the output window. Okay. Now let's talk about the divide operator in Kotlin. It's very similar to what we've already covered. So let's suppose that this library gives a 50% discount for the fees if the customer returns the book within a week of being late. What I mean by this is if this value, number of days with overdue book, is less than 7, the customer will get like a 50% discount on the fees that he should pay. Okay, so how do we do that? The same way we did the multiplication and the addition. We write fees. You can write directly divide equals, and you can write in this example 2. Okay, let's print out the fees before and after dividing them. So we write this print line function before and after dividing the fees. We run this function again, and here you can see the fees were $9 and now they are equal to $4.5. Okay, that's the division operator in Kotlin. And as for the subtraction operator, it also follows the same concept. So let's create a new variable and name it something like account balance. Okay, did we already create this in the past? I don't think so. So account balance is basically the balance that the customer currently has. Okay, for this library, probably in his card. So let's say it's something like 20.0. The customer has $20 in his balance. And in the end, after calculating the fees, we want to subtract them from this balance. How we do that? We write account balance minus equals fees. Okay, let's print the account balance. And let's run this function. And that's it. The account balance was 20. We subtracted from it 4.5 and now we have 15.5 as a total balance for the customer. So that was arithmetic operators in a nutshell. But first let's clean up this code a little bit so that it can be easier to follow later. So we're going to delete these print statements. We delete that, we delete that, and we delete this. Okay, so let's leave a comment here. If the customer returns a book before 7 days. And I wrote this comment here because in the next video we're going to discuss how we can do this by code. Okay, that will be the if-else statement. So to recap this video first, what did we do? We incremented the total number of books borrowed as the customer borrows a new book. This is how we do the increment operation. We multiplied the fees based on the number of days that the customer has been late to return this book. We did it like that. Then we assumed that the customer returned this book before being 7 days late. So we divided the amount of fees by 2 in this case. And finally, we assumed that the customer has an account balance with the library. This account balance was initialized to 20. And we had account balance with the fees deducted from it. So these are arithmetic operators in Kotlin. I hope they weren't too complex, and I hope you found these examples relatable. If you like my content and you find it relatable, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next video.